Mr Chair.
Chris Hipkins.
Thank you very much, Mr Chairman. Mr Chairman, I've uncovered a bit of an issue. And I would like to ask the member in charge of this bill some questions about clause 4A and the fact that it amends section 171 brackets 2 of the existing Education Act, because I think we need to be clear what we're talking about here, and I know that the member in charge of the bill is one to do her homework, and I'm sure she'll be in a position to answer the questions that I'm about to ask her about. The issue that I have is this effectively only amends the constitutions of university councils, because an earlier amendment passed by this national government, early in their term of government, amended the constitution of polytechnic councils so that they now don't have guaranteed student representation at all. So they have, polytechnic councils previously were subject to the same clause or same provisions of the Education Act that this bill amends, and the government changed it so that they are no longer covered by that clause. So polytechnic councils have 4 representatives appointed by government and 4 representatives appointed by the tertiary institutions. What that's effectively done is it's given all the power to make up the composition of a polytechnic council to the government and to the institution. Students are no longer guaranteed representation on a polytechnic council, notwithstanding any changes that may or may not be made in this bill. So what we're talking about here relates to universities and I believe to wānanga. I believe these provisions still apply to the wānanga. So the question that I have for the member in charge, who I'm sure has done her homework on this, is how have students and staff fared at the polytechnics where the change has already been made that effectively gives the institution the power to determine what the nature of student representation at those institutions is. Because what this bill will effectively do is hand over the power to select student representatives or to determine the manner in which student representatives are selected to the institutions. Now, I welcome the fact that this provision does guarantee that at least one of the representatives of a university or a wānanga council will be a student of the institution. I welcome that, because that's not a guarantee that currently is afforded to polytechnic students or institutes of technology students because of the change that the national government made that removed their right to have a representative on their council. But the real question that I have for the member, I'm sure she's done her homework on it and I'm sure she's just looking it up right now and is going to respond to it, is how students have fared. Have the institutions, have the polytechnics continued to afford students that ability to be represented on their councils even though they're no longer guaranteed that right? And if they haven't, what confidence can university and wānanga students have that they will not be treated exactly the same way if this bill is passed in its present form? In other words, they could lose their student representation on the councils of their institutions. And it's actually a very important point, because ultimately students are the largest body of stakeholders of an institution. Although you've got to argue the alumni are the largest body of stakeholders of an institution, but I would say that the current students probably have the most current interest in the affairs of the institution and have provided a very significant contribution to the governance of those institutions. I've been on a university council. I served on the Victoria University Council and we're here in Wellington for 2 years. It was a really interesting experience, and I think that the 2 student representatives that Victoria University's current constitution allows for provided very, very valuable input into that institution's governance process. And in the case of Victoria University, one of those students is automatically the president of the Students' Association, which was me. The other is elected by an election at large of the student population. So but the determination for how that is done was over to the Students' Association, because under the existing law it's effectively delegated. The filling of those positions is delegated to the Students' Association. Now, the Students' Association therefore is guaranteed 1 student representative. They could have up to 3. So where Mr Lees Galloway came from Massey University, they had 3 student representatives. We argued at Victoria University for there to be three student representatives. We only got 2. But as my colleague Mr Robertson just pointed out, 2 student representatives from Victoria is definitely worth 3 from Massey. And so I think we provided the quality that meant that we managed to get by with only 2, where Massey University unfortunately needed 3 in order to have the same value to the council's governance processes. So, Mr. Chair, I'm looking forward to the member in charge's contribution.
Louise Upston.